Alrighty, here we go. Brand new Flyers Daily for the 11th of November, 2025. Flyers Daily, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. Flyers will be back in action coming up tomorrow when the Edmonton Oilers come to Xfinity Mobile Arena. It's not been a good start for Edmonton at all. 6-4, seventh spot in the Pacific Division of the Western Conference. They've lost three straight and are minus 10 in goal differential. They give up a ton of goals. They score a good amount, but they give up a good amount. So we'll see Flyers against McDavid, Draisaitl, and the Edmonton Oilers coming up tomorrow night. It's going to be an exciting game at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Anytime McDavid's in town, I always say this. If you haven't seen him play in person, I highly recommend it. As fast as he looks on TV and as dynamic as he looks on TV, it's even more pronounced in person. He's a spectacle. There's no doubt about it. An absolute freak. Fantastic player. We'll see if Edmonton can turn it around, but hopefully after tomorrow when the Flyers go in and take on the Oilers. Flyers are 15 games in right now, 8-5-2, 18 points, 3 back of the Penguins, but 2 games in hand on the Penguins. Flyers 6-3-1 in their last 10, +4 in goal differential. So it'll be Flyers Oilers tomorrow night. We'll get you pumped up for that in tomorrow's episode. In this episode, we have a little sit down with the general manager, Daniel Briere. Now, just real quick, I taped this interview on, I guess it was Saturday before the game at Xfinity Mobile Arena. Maybe it was Sunday. I think it was Sunday. Or no, Saturday it was. And we discussed a litany of topics about the team's start, a contract for Trevor Zegras, where Daniel Briere is on that, noise around the league, the play so far this season of Matvei Michkov, and a bunch of other topics. So we'll get to that in just a moment. After the interview, we're going to go through some of the YouTube comments. Obviously, there's a ton of drama online about the Flyers right now and what Sean Couturier had to say about Matvei Michkov. What I would just urge people to do is look for the context of it all. Now, there's been an argument around this team for years. Players got to hold other players accountable, and the rolling of the eyes on the bench when Sean Couturier went offsides in that overtime. I will tell you 1,000 times that happens. A player makes a move at the blue line when you're trying to get in on an odd man rush on the wing, and when he makes the little move at the blue line instead of inside the blue line, you're going to be like, come on, dude, don't make the move at the line. I'm timing it as if you're going to go straight in, and when you cut across it, now you threw me off. You throw off all my advantage of coming with momentum. It's totally normal. And this is what leadership looks like and accountability looks like. And people go, well, I hope he's doing the same thing with Travis Konechny when he does something, or he does the same thing with any other player. Yeah, it happens across the board. He was asked about this specific situation after Michkov commented on it. So you got to have context. Like if I came on, say I'm an NHL goalie, and I come on and I say, my team's struggling to score and we're not winning games, and they ask me about the lack of scoring. If I just said, as the being interviewed as the goalie, and I said, it's not my job to score, that's the other guy's job to score. And I left it there, and that was it. You take that quote and you go, man, he's calling out the offense. But if I said, look, it's not my job to score, it's the other guy's job to score. My job is to stop pucks, and that's what I have to concentrate on. I can't control things I don't control. Now, all of a sudden, you have more context. When you get full context, things don't seem so salacious. And I don't think what he said was salacious. Some people go, well, you shouldn't have used the word cheater, cheat the game. Come on. We're all big boys here. This is not pee-wee hockey. This is the NHL. And I mean, guys all the time say, dude, you got to pump that puck deep, or you got to do this, or you got to, I'm going here, get it to me here. You know, these things happen. It's a high temperature environment in pro sports. And guys want to win. They're competitive. So to me, this is all much to do about absolutely nothing. And the other part is the contextual relationship between Couturier and Michkov, which is very strong. Michkov often goes to Couturier to ask him about things. He's the captain of the team. Players do go to him, or they see that he's a very cerebral player. And when guys are adjusting to the NHL, they go to guys that have been in the league for a long time. So don't fall into it. I know some people are going to be like, oh, they shouldn't have done. You have to have full context to know that this is the biggest nothing burger in the world. And I just want to tack one more thing before we get to Danny Briere. I know some people are putting out there, well, the Flyers media PR machine's at it now. They must have got called. And that doesn't happen. I've been in this business for 30 some years. I have never, now I work for the team. I'm not a media member. I'm a content creator. Doesn't that sound good? But I have never in my days being in sports radio or media, whatever you want to call it, some hybrid thereof. I've never been a beat writer or any of that stuff. But I've never had anybody from a team call me and say, hey, can you put this narrative out there? Never, not once has that ever happened in my career. I won't speak for anybody else, but I know it's never happened in my 32 plus years. So if you don't want to believe that, that's fine. But that's the God's honest truth. And you guys know, I'm very transparent. I'm a straight shooter. That's the God's honest truth. All right, let's get to the general manager. Here's my conversation. Now, again, this was before this whole thing blew up with Couturier, Michkov online, which I think is a total nothing burger. But this was taped before that. But here's Danny Briere on the start to the season. Trevor Zegras, Matvei Michkov, and tons more right here. Joining us on Flyers Daily is Flyers General Manager Daniel Briere. How you doing?
I'm doing great.
How's the beginning of the season been for you?
It's been a little bit of a roller coaster. We were going well. I mean, it was a tough start when looking before the season at the opponent, especially the first 5 games of the season. We survived that. We got on a little bit of a streak, and it's so similar than when I was as a player, where you're trying to stay even keel. Mm-hmm. And we go into last weekend. Toronto, Calgary, both teams are like they've had some ups and downs, and I got my hopes a little high. Probably got ahead of myself a little bit, and I was so disappointed.
You were enjoying yourself, frankly.
With the 2 games, and then you get on the road, and now you start to get worried a little bit, and then the guys pull through and played a great game in Montreal. I thought that game probably shouldn't have even gone into extra time. We played a great game in Montreal, and we win in Nashville too. Not our best effort, but we win in Nashville too. So it's the roller coaster experience is full out right now. But I'm happy with the start that the guys and the coaching staff have put together.
How much can you as the GM and Rick Tocchet as the coach and the staff take out of these 3 games? The Islander game where you're down 2-0, come back, tie it, go back down. The resilience to get it to a shootout and win. The Penguin game, a quadruple doink goal from Crosby behind the goal line, ties it. You thought you lost, you thought you won. You get to a shootout, you win. And then obviously the Montreal game. What can you take out of those 3 games about your group?
Well, the way I see it is the experience that our guys are acquiring right now is awesome. And I hope it goes in the memory bank, and they remember what it feels and what they went through and how they did it, because I think it's a big part of maturing. It's a big part of coming down the stretch, looking back in the season. Hey, we were in this situation before. We can win those games. Yeah. I don't think we did a lot of that last year, and that's what gets me excited and start believing that this team will stay in the mix and will battle through. I really like how resilient they are.
The thing is those 3 points that you acquire, 3-0 in the shootout, you can look back at the end of the year and go, that kept us in it, because that was the difference between being in position now and being in the cellar. That's how tight it is.
Yeah, and especially this year, the way after a little bit over a month of the season, I've never seen anything so tight. So it's exciting. We're right in the middle of it. Hopefully we can get that streak going, take care of our 2 games at home this week, and after that we'll reassess. I hopefully I've learned from last weekend to not get too far and stay even keel, take it 1 game at a time. But it's exciting.
The move you made in the summer to sign Dan Vladar, Sam goes out, goes on IR, what he's given you early this season. How much did you guys look at the end of his last year with those 11 road games? I think 8 of the opponents were playoff bound, and 2 of the others were fighting for the playoffs.
Look, I'd be lying if I said I saw this coming. Him being as dominant as he's been, but we thought he could push at least Sam Ersson, to force each other to battle for starts. That's what we've liked so far about him. We looked obviously at his schedule last year, and we felt that he got a lot of tough games, sometimes the back-to-backs also. And that gave us confidence that he could come in and help us out. It's no secret we've been awful in back-to-backs in the past few years, and something we needed to find or start to find some answers for us to stay in the mix. And we felt he could be part of how to resolve that problem.
Boy, when he's confident, he's a big guy. But when he's confident, he looks gigantic. I imagine he's not showing any twine.
And what I've really liked is how competitive he battles. He fights for puck. And I think as a player, when you're in front of him and you see, your goalie laying everything on the line, like you said, competing, you want to battle for him too. You want to try to block shots. You want to go the extra mile to take someone out of a scoring position. So it's been fun to watch.
One of the things you targeted a couple of years ago, you said we got to find those players with high-end skill that maybe need a change of scenery. You as a player would be able to lean back on changing where you play and how that affects the player more than anybody else. But I'm right at the front of the line of the people because I had a perception of Trevor Zegras, and I'm in front of the line to admit I was wrong in my perception. What have you seen out of Zegras, and has it shocked you a little bit to hit the ground running like this?
I think we all did, because he was so good early in his 2 rookie seasons, and then you see the fall off, and everybody's really quick to question, right? And
love to,
and I'm guilty of it too. But we did spend a lot of time watching him over and over again, and trying to find as much information on him as possible. And everything checked out. Everybody we talked to, everybody loved the person. Everybody said, he was just in a tough situation, injuries and tough situation as far as playing times and not feeling wanted. I've been through it a little bit too. And you see a lot of those high-end guys kind of come together after a few years. It takes a few years to figure out this league. You come out on a high, they figure you out, and then
it's easy.
You think it's easy too, and then you got to figure it out yourself. And I think that's where Trevor's at. I mean, the skill level, the plays that he make, and we've seen a difference from training camp to today also in him, and just his body language and how
comfortability
he skates with the puck. The shoulders are high and they're back, and he's if it looks like he knows something good is about to happen. Where
I said that the other day, I feel like I'm watching him and something could happen at any second.
Exactly. So he's starting to get that feeling back, and it's really good for us to see that coming together.
It really comes together. Contract with him is obviously part of the equation now. You go, well, this guy's really hit the ground running. Where are you in that vein with him? Because he has an RFA deal that's going to expire after this year.
That'll come. I'm not worried about that. He's trying to learn us. He's trying to learn the organization, the city. I think so far is positive. The fans are really behind him, it feels like. And it's the same thing for us, where we're trying to gauge, how good he can be. The contract will come together. He's restricted at the end of the year, so we have that protection on our side for a bit. It's not something I'm worried or taking sleep away.
I love that he did an interview with Ashwin Sullivan, and he said, I feel like I've been here for a really long time.
Yeah,
that's a comfortability thing for him, isn't it? Like, he just seems like East Coast mentality a little bit.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when you're on the out west and you play at 10, 11 at night, your friends, your family are on the East Coast, and they're not really paying attention. They look at the box score the next day. I think here now in Philly, I'm sure his parents and his friends are driving up, a couple hours to come watch him play live. If not, they're certainly watching the games at home on their TV. So I think for him, there's more skin in the game, and he has to play better, play harder, because after the game or the next morning, he has to answer questions from his own friends and family. I get it. And, it seems to be working for him.
Where's Michkov at right now with his game? We know that, you come in, it's been a little bit of a struggle. This is a cat and mouse league. Like, they figure you out, you got to find some other ways. That's always been the case. Where's he right now, as we said, 15 games in?
Well, it might be a very similar story early on as with Zegras. Came out with a bang. The league kind of figures him out. You think it's going to be easy, probably, do some things that you would change in how you prepare for the season. Now, hopefully, as he gets out of it as quick as possible. It was good to see him score the other night. I really like how, he didn't stay on the outside. He jumped in the hole. Cam found him, and it's in the back of the net. So that's the key for Matvey, is trying to. He's so competitive, but it's a fine line without being too hard on yourself. You still got to keep working. And we're there to help him, and the coaches want to help him. And they're going to spend extra time. So. I think it's going to be paying off for him and us in the long run.
When you saw the celebration on that goal after the pass by York, it wasn't your typical, it was.
It felt.
It had an expletive behind it.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of weight came off.
Yeah, like an angry celebration.
Yes, exactly. But that's what we love so much about Matvey is how competitive he is.
Yeah.
And he's going to let you know too. I've seen him. The one part of his game that I've liked lately is awareness defensively.
Back pressure.
His back pressure, the awareness is elevated because the points were not coming, and his physical play too. He's so strong along the boards, protecting pucks and stuff like that. And he's thrown a couple hits, and you see players run into him.
Like, shot.
Oh boy, that one hurt, because he's strong. He's a little tank.
He's like a plug. Let me ask you about two of your defensemen. You've been asked about these guys probably ad nauseum at this point, but York and Drysdale. Cam looks like a different player to me. You just see both players not thinking, playing instinctually, and activating offensively. What have you seen out of those two guys, and to provide offense for you? That's such a luxury to get that from the blue line.
Kind of the same thing you mentioned. And I think with Cam York, we've seen more offense from him than he's shown last year. He's making plays at the blue line. He's jumping in the holes. He's looking to add to the offense. And his defense is just as solid as it was. And then Jamie's the opposite, where his offense was there. You see him jump, like he skates really well. What I've been impressed with him is the defensive side, and a really good stick. He's never going to run people through the boards, but if he uses his feet and his stick to defend the way he has now, he becomes a very, very good defenseman, and it changed things for us, that having both guys step up in each of their area.
I love how he jumped up into the play when the two wingers are flying the zone in Nashville. He reads it, and the wingers are like, they read him jumping, and they're like, "Oh, we didn't get it out." PK kept it in, and he jumps in the play, and
right in the hole.
Right, right up the middle.
And the other thing that I liked too, we saw earlier in the year, he would miss the net from that area, and in this one, he kept it in play. He shot it in an area that is tough to contain for a goalie, and it's going to give you a rebound. I don't know if it was intentional, but I like that, seeing that there's two goal players in the crease that can pot the puck in. I thought that was a very clever play as well.
Last thing for you, with it being so tight in the Eastern Conference, how's the chatter been amongst your fellow general manager brethren?
Almost nothing going on, and I think
everybody's in it.
Everybody thinks they're still winning the cup. So, GMs are probably a little bit more careful. They want to know a little bit more what they have. Some GMs might be frustrated because their team were expected to be a little higher, and they're a little anxious. Other GMs, it's the opposite. They didn't expect to be there, and now they're in the mix. So everybody's kind of waiting to see exactly what they have. There's no one that's really out of it at this point. So, right around early November, the last couple of years is when I would start to get a lot of calls and activity.
Teams get itchy.
And this year it's been really quiet on that front.
Well, Brian Burke can confirm they're only going to give out one cup this year.
Oh boy,
he says it all the time.
Hopefully it's ours.
Yeah, no doubt. Danny, thanks for doing this. Best of luck.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you.
Great to sit down with Daniel Briere to talk about his team's start to the season, which has been pretty good. A little uneven at times, but pretty darn good. All things considered, gotten good goaltending, gotten great defensive play. There's been a lot that's gone into it. It's weird that I don't just give flat out credit to the goaltending. Let's get to some of the comments on yesterday's episode, which Bill Meltzer appeared on. David said, I really enjoyed how you and Bill interjected past Flyers players and how that informs the current discussion around Michkov. Yeah, I mean, I've been around the team a long time, several different captains and leaders and personalities, and there's nothing that I saw that's out of the ordinary. John says, greetings from the UK. Excellent show. Watching Michkov from the UK. Very bizarre. If I may offer my take, the player's 20 years old, learning a language, culture, and the game. Totally agree. He said, you have to teach, of course, but when they drafted him, they knew he was one-dimensional, but what a dimension it was. I don't think he was just one-dimensional. He's got multi-dimensions. Defending wasn't one of his, but he said Kucherov, Tarasenko, Ovechkin all needed work, but all needed support and grew in confidence. Michkov is playing in the NHL at a younger age than those mentioned. No, Ovi came in right away. Kucherov came in at the same exact age. I'll have to look at Tarasenko. Michkov is playing in the NHL at a younger age, and keep him mentioned. He said Adam Fantilli, same age, is very similar, talented, but prone to some young mistakes. But Columbus Blue Jacket fans focus on his talent rather than his clangers, and that's what Dean Evison as a coach. Love checking in here. Love the Flyers fans. All the best from the UK. Yeah, look, young players, it takes time. For so many years, the thing that held Alexander Ovechkin back from getting past the Penguins and marching on for a legit cup run was that he had to play the game the right way. He couldn't just be about offense. And when he did that under Barry Trotz, who wouldn't have it any other way, they eventually won. And look, you cannot have one-dimensional players in this league because if they get shut down, they become net negative. You have to be a net positive player even when you're not scoring, which is, I think, what Couturier was pretty much saying. Passionalox, I don't know if I said that right. He said, I hope Coots keeps the same attitude with Tippett and TK. Both have been extremely frustrating to watch this year. Look, when it comes to Tippett, I understand. He had 5 goals. He's got 1 assist. I'd like to see him generate more offense as a unit for sure. And I'd like to see that gap between when I'm hot and when I'm cold be a little shorter. As far as Konechny goes, he's got 13 points in 15 games. He didn't get off to a great start. He's on a 7-game point streak right now. He is playing well. Didn't love the start, and I agree. You got to keep the same attitude with everybody. Everybody's got to be held accountable. Flyers Purgatory said Michkov and Martone are supposed to be the future of this franchise. We were told we need top-end talent on this roster. Briere and Jonesy both have said this. Agreed. He said, Coots is a bad contract. I don't dislike Coots, but bringing that kind of energy to the media is a bad look. Again, what I will say to you, Flyers Purgatory, is look at the full context of what he was asked after what Michkov had said. He said, front office has to pick a lane. Are we rebuilding and it's about development? Or are we trying to get the 8th seed for Coots and TK? This is why 1 foot in, 1 foot out plan was always dumb. It causes strife in the fan base and obviously now in the team. To me, the hiring of Talk was for Coots and TK. No, I totally disagree with you. It's a time now where it's time in the rebuild to start adding. They subtracted 21 players from when Danny Briere took over into last season. Eventually, you have to start rebuilding that back up, or with the young players like Michkov, like York, like Drysdale, like all of the young players, you're going to show them that losing is acceptable. And I say it all the time. If you accept that, washing that stain off your hands is not easy. And as far as, again, Couturier speaking publicly about it was after Michkov said what he said about training and stuff like that, and feeling heavy on his feet and all of it. So, to me, this is a misread by you, Flyers Purgatory, and all due respect. Dean Dean Sorge says, Jason, do you think the Flyers will make any trades before the deadline for another top defensive or offensive player? We're still lacking a scoring punch. Also, why the hell can't we win at home? Thank you, Dean. I don't know. We're so far from the trade deadline. And right now, things, especially in the Eastern Conference, are so tight. The only team that you heard that's really open for business is the St. Louis Blues. So I don't know. It's way too early to talk about the deadline. But if a player, a top defenseman, a top pairing defenseman, or a top offensive player becomes available because they're on an expiring contract, and you're in the mix, you have to look at it because you're looking to add those things still to your team to make your team better now, but most importantly, for the long term. So if you can get a guy in here and extend him, then it's something you look at. I don't think you're in the rental business, but hell, the deadline's not even until March. So we're so far away from that. As far as why the Flyers can't win at home, they are 6-3-1 at home this season. They've been a very good team at home at Xfinity Mobile Arena all year. This one guy said, Straight Cash Homie says, 2 opinions here. I think Michkov got a concussion in a car accident that didn't allow him to train. That's why he was off for 4 months. That's a wild conjecture, brother. Maybe he did, but there's no reporting of that at all, or there's been no mention of that. And I don't know why you would hide a concussion. He said the fan base is so bullish and supportive of Michkov is because we have had Flyers hockey and lunch pail work ethic shoved down our throats from this organization for 50 years. We're sick of it, and Michkov is our only hope of getting away from that mentality. Well, you better have some kind of lunch pail mentality if you want to win the playoffs. You better have players that are willing to do those grimy things, or you're not going to win. You're not going to win. It's too hard to win in the NHL playoffs now with just one-dimensional high-end skill and not have those other things. You got to be almost a perfectly built team to win now, which means you got to have some lunch pail guys. Your identity doesn't have to be all lunch pail, but you got to outwork your competition. If you're not going to work, you're not going to win. But I understand what you're saying. The blue-collar muckers and grind. I get what you're saying. And I still think the Flyers need more high-end skill. That's with Michkov and with Zegras and other skilled players like Konechny. I think they need even more of it because you see what wins in the league. But you also need to have those guys that carry a lunch pail and are going to do some really non-glorious things to help you win. So that's where I stand on it. That's good for the comments. I don't need to get in anymore. Thanks to Daniel Briere for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us. Even though we disagree in the comments sometimes, again, I just have my perspective of somebody that has been around the game very closely for a long time and played for a long time, the locker room dynamics. I'll be honest, I tend to fall a lot of times on the player/coach side. Now, why is that? Well, because I played for 45 years and I coached for 20. So I tend to fall on that side. That's where my background is. So I tend to fall on that side. As far as what one guy said, that it causes strife in the fan base, you cannot make decisions based on what the fan base wants as a manager, as a team builder. You have to make the decisions with the information you have, which is far more considerable than what the fan base has. You have all these tools at your disposal as a manager, as a general manager, with scouts that are seeing eyes on, talking to players, coaches, trainers, everything. You can't make decisions based on what the fans want. That's all YouTube highlights or something. That's not a dig at the fans. But you have to make those decisions. There's an old saying for general managers in sports. When you start listening to the fans, you'll be sitting with them. You got to do what you think is best. And we'll ultimately see if what they're doing is best. There'll be no hiding it because pro sports are ultimately judged very easily with wins and losses. Are you good enough to be a team that gets into that sphere, that pantheon of a cup contender, or are you not? It becomes self-evident eventually. It's not that hard to judge in the long run. But while we're going through it, and we all want to have opinions while we're going through it, and that's totally fair. That's what makes sports great. That's why the debate of talking about sports is what we value as a viewer, fan, whatever, observer, commentator, whatever it might be. We value certain things differently than Joe, who's sitting 2 bar stools down in the bar when we're talking about it. And we debate it. I think this guy stinks. They should trade him, or this coach isn't good because of this or that. That's why sports is great. And it's a great conversation. So everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We'll be back tomorrow. Preview Flyers Oilers. Join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.